Hi, my name's Kieran Marsden, and today you join me at the fantastic Maver Weston Pools, one of the UK's top commercial venues and one of my all-time favourite venues. Weston's got 6 lakes in total, 5 on-site and 1 off-site, and today I'm going to take you down to the lake off-site, the clay pit. I've just been in the tackle shop for my bait, so let's head down there. So we're here now at the clay pit, an absolutely fantastic looking lake, a 37 peg open water lake, absolutely rammed with big F1s and carp. And today I'm going to show you a few tactics that I use down here during the summer to catch these fish. I'm going to start on hard pellets short, so we'll get into that now. I'll just run you through the rig first before we do start fishing. I've got green slick as my elastic choice. I've got 018 power micron mainline. My float is a 4x16's 1.7mm Maggie down to a 5-inch 016 power micron to a 18's MXC3. I just put a 6mm hard pellet in the band. I always start nice and short, just where you can feed it nicely. Flip the rig out. Feed 2 lots of 4mm. Let the rig catch up with itself. Hold on to that last little bit and lower it in. And hopefully it won't take too long to get a bite. You always seem to get a nice little run here early at Weston on the clay pit. Oh, had a little indication then. Flip the rig back in again. Just be patient, wait for a proper bite. That last one I probably lifted into that a little bit early. So we always start short on this line. You get a nice little run early, especially in a match situation. As soon as they shout all in, I always seem to drop on it quite quick and get a nice run of fish. There's days when I get 10 fish on it, there's days when I get 5 fish on it, but you do seem to catch something really quick, really early. Just fishing pellets, feeding 4mm with a 6mm on the hook. Seems to work great at the start. Also as well, you can start short because it's a good line to start where you, just so you're comfortable fishing, and you can feed some casters just for your next line you're moving on to for fishing shallow, so you can hold on to your rig nice and comfortable here, still fishing away but feeding some casters. There we go, we're into our first fish. When you hook one, feed some pellets. Feels like a good F1 this. I could be wrong, it's waking up a little bit now. I like this green slick. It's really good elastic, very soft and forgiving, but powers up when it needs to under your feet. Awesome elastic, all the slicks that Matrix do are brilliant. Oh, it's a big, massive common. These are the fish that you try and target on that short line, especially later in the match when we switch it to dead maggots. to take your time, there's no rush. The big fish, these. There you have it. He's about £8. A lovely start. Oh. And that'd be a fantastic start if you was in a match and you caught that early. So again, I've just caught that now. 6mm in the band again. I like to use stots myself. Some people use shots, but in the summer I use stots. They do move about a bit, but you can quickly put them back into place. The reason I like using it, just don't damage your line. When you're catching big carp like that, and they're moving up and down on your line, you can catch on your shot and tangle you up and stuff, and it can snap them. So that's why I use stots in the summer. Ship out, flick your rig in, feed 2 lots of 4mm, not many, 6 to 8 pellets twice. Again, let your rig catch up and lower it all in, and you're fishing again. What also plays a really big part down here is the weather. When it's sunny down here, you find that all the carp do want to be on the top, so they might not want to be on this short line today. They might want to be on the top, so it could be a waggler day, a shallow day. You just got to try and work out quick what line you need to be on. But I'll keep feeding some casters for shallow. I think that's going to be my next move after this line. There's a bit of tow on the lake today. I've got 2 number 8 back shots, they're working perfect. Just keeps me on line with that marker. Oh, there we go. We're into another fish. Feed some pellets. Feels like another good fish, this. Yeah, it feels like another carp. So that's already telling me it does feel like it could be a patience game today, the big fish. Big F1 this time, looking at it. You can see the fish right down on this lake, it's that clear. They pull so hard here at Weston. That's why you've got to step your elastics up. I love this green slick though, it's perfect for down here on this lake. Here's another carp. There we go. Not as big as the last one, but still good size. Another lovely looking common. Flick your rig in again. You've got to keep feeding them casters, especially for when you're fishing shallow. Regular feeding. Build some fish into your peg, get them confident for when you drop on it. There we go, we're in again, that was quick. Seems like another good fish. Feed some 4mm. This is a bigger fish. It's unbelievable how hard they fight on this venue. I've had it many a times when I come off the bank and my arms are aching. They fight that hard. I think this is another carp, this. If it is another carp, that just shows there's a lot of carp feeding. Because normally you do get a few F1s mixed in at the start. It is another carp. A mirror this time. Beautiful. Lovely looking fish. I'll just hold him up and show you what you can catch here. Look at them, dark mirrors. Absolutely fantastic fish they are down here at the clay pit. Get him in the keep net. Right, we've been on that short line for a good 45 minutes to an hour now. It's been good, patient fishing, catching carp. Not many F1s, but I've been priming my shallow line, and I feel like that's my next move now, from this line to shallow. So I'm going to have a go shallow. I'm fishing the jigger rig. I've got a caster in the band. Ship out. Flick the jigger in. What I do is I hold on to the top of, like right up in the air, top of mute length, feed some casters twice. And then begin to lower the jigger. I've got this jigger set up at about 10 foot deep. This lake's 30, 40 foot deep. So you can catch them right down when you hit your stop at like 9, 10 foot. So that's why I've got it set up at that depth on this lake. Sometimes shallow might not even work, but you've got to give it a try, because shallow is a winning method on this lake, and if it does work, it's a deadly tactic. You can build big weights of F1s quickly. So I'm going to give it a go now and see how we get on. So I'm fishing the jigger rig today. The jigger rig is basically a float with a hole through it. This one's a 0.4 one, so that takes 7 number 8s. It's quite heavy because I've got it set deep. The jigger rig, basically, you're just lowering a piece of line through the jigger and you're searching the depths with it. It's a really good method on this lake, especially with having to fish it deep, because it'd be really hard to fish a fixed rig at 10 foot on this lake. But what I do is just put some casters in the pouch, feed, lift your rig up into the casters and lower it down. I've had it loads of times where you'll lift your rig right up because your pole's out the way and you'll catch them. Just because you've got a jigger set 10 foot deep on 10 foot of line doesn't mean you're going to catch them at that depth. You can catch them at 6 inch deep. It works because it's also good because it keeps your pole out the way, so when them F1s rise up, they're not spooked off the pole tip. So that's a really good method. That's why I use this down here. What I've done with that short line now is I've switched it from hard pellets to dead maggots. I know from past experience that they absolutely love dead maggots on this lake, on that short line, and it's just for targeting carp later part of your match. They all come and seem to sit right under where your nets are. So I've switched that line to dead maggots to move on to that line. It's really important. I think that's the key to some types of fishing. You've got to like know what line to be on, make sure you're priming your line to go on to next. Just keeping yourself busy, I think. But we'll give this another 10 minutes. If I'm not getting any signs or indications, I won't give it too long. I'll come back off it, keep priming it, don't stop feeding it. You've got to keep feeding it because they can turn up at any point. Keep feeding some dead maggots on that short line. Up the feed a little bit with these dead maggots. Good handful, like 20, 30 maggots. A telltale sign that there is some carp on this line is that you see blows, and that's a good sign that you need to go onto that line as well. So we've just been fishing on the jigger line. I didn't really have any success on this line. It was evident that there was fish topping in the middle of the lake, So my next move is going to be the pellet waggler. But before I go on to the pellet waggler, I'll just run you through my setup for future reference. So we'll start with the elastic. I've got orange slick. It's nice and soft, but still powerful enough in case I hook a carp on this line, more targeted for F1s. Main line 018 power micron, down to a short 3-inch 014 power micron with a 18s MXC3 and a band for the caster. Now my jigger that I use is a cut down Drennan crystal dibber. I cut that down and then I just use that, and it's shotted with 8 number 8 stops. Quite a heavy rig, but as I explained earlier, we're fishing on 8-10 footer lines, so you do need a bit of weight behind it just to pull the line through the jigger, keep a tight line, especially when you're fishing it deeper. But just thought I'd run you through that rig. I did have to try it, as I explained, because sometimes it can be a deadly method on this lake, but obviously today it's not that the case. There's more fish showing themselves in the middle of the lake, so we're going to move on to the waggler now. Right, let's just talk you through the setup before we do start on the waggler. My rod's an 11-foot waggler rod. I've got 3-pound main line on the reel, a 3 SSG waggler. I use 3-pound main line on the reel because the line lay on the reel's really good. So when you're casting these really light wagglers, they go quite far. So that's the reason why I've got 3-pound line. But to be fair, it's strong enough to handle these carp and F1s. I've never really had an issue with it. So that's the setup. Let's get a bit of fishing done. Right, we're going to start on the waggler. I'm going to start with a 6mm hard pellet in the band. I'm feeding 6s on this line. I like to feed 6mm on this lake because you're not just targeting carp, you're targeting some F1s as well on this waggler. It does work for F1s. A good starting point that I start at is 3 foot deep. I can adjust from there, whether if I need to go shallower, I'll go shallower. If I need to go deeper, I'll go deeper. But a really good starting point for me is 3 foot. I'll flick the rod in there, just put it down, pick some 6mm up in the pouch, feed twice, 2 lots of 6mm, and then cast your waggler into your feed, and we're fishing. Don't sit there for too long. Bring it back, chuck it in again, keep chucking, keep casting. A lot of your bites do come sometimes on the seckle as you've chucked, just as you've chucked it in, everything's seckling up. I always like to chuck past my feed as well. So I'll chuck past my feed, and then what I'll do is I'll twitch it into my feed. There we go, we're in. That didn't take long. This just shows that you can be fishing the pole line and not be on your pole line. Everything's still sat out in the lake. Feels like an F1. There we go. Lovely big F1. And it's just a case of repeat the process. Again, while you're fishing the waggler, I'm still priming my next line to move on to. The line I talked about earlier in the session, I've switched that short hard pellet line to dead maggots now. I've been priming it for a while. That'll be my line that I think that I'm going to move on to the later stages of my fishing match. So we've got another fish on the waggler. This time it feels like a carp. This just proves that they're not on the pole line and everything's in the middle. But what I'm going to do after I've got this fish in, I'm going to have a go on the short line. I've seen some blows. Oh, it's not a carp, it's a big F1 again. There we go. Fish fight that hard, they feel like carp sometimes, even the F1s pull hard. There you go. A lovely, beautiful clay pit dark F1. So let's put this down and move on to the short maggot line. We'll give that a go. I've seen some blows, so I feel like there's a few carp there. Right, so we're going to move on to the last line now that go on to the later parts of my matches, and that's the dead maggot line on me, over the same line where I was fishing pellets earlier in the match. It's virtually the same rig as my pellet rig, just a little bit more beefed up. Heavier elastic, heavier main line, heavier root length, obviously with a spade end hook on for fishing with dead maggots. I like to put 6 or 7 dead maggots on this, just a big standout bait. Like I say, we're targeting carp now. This line can be truly deadly. It's a line that really works well on this clay pit. You can catch 10 carp in the last 40 minutes for £60. An absolutely deadly method. Just mix it up a bit. I've gone for 4 reds, 3 whites. Doesn't really matter, there's no preference to what you put on, personal preference, colour wise. Again, I like to flip my rigging away from the slope. Feed twice. They do spread out, these maggots, when you chuck them in, but the carp seem to love it. Come grazing over it, I think. Hold on to your rig, let everything settle and catch up. And lower your rigging. I like to have quite a bit of bristle showing on this because you don't want to lift into any false indications, just waiting for a proper pull under. The bites are really aggressive, so you'll know when you get a proper bite. There we go. That was a proper bite. We're into a fish. Feed some maggots. And believe it or not, it's an F1 this time. Nevertheless, they're all weight builders. Check my maggots, they all seem all right. Stopped again, they're all in place. So we're back in fishing. Again, flip the rig out away from the slope. It's really important that. Feed 2 lots of maggots twice over your float. Let everything come in. So I'll give it like 3-4 minutes. I've had a few lines but no indication. What I'll do is I'll just lift my rig out, flick it out again, feed twice. I never like to feed when my rig's in the water because sometimes you can get a really false indication and lift into fish that are feeding off the bottom. So I always take my rig out and flick it in again. Let everything settle up. Just lower that last little bit in and you're fishing again. There we go. Lovely bite. That's definitely a carp, that one. Feed some maggots. Could be wrong, it could be another big F1. Fighting like a carp though. It's another big F1. But nevertheless, like I say, an absolutely deadly tactic late on in your match for putting big weights together. Another massive F1. Absolutely brilliant method. Right, that's it. I've gone through a few methods down here at the clay pit. I hope they've helped you to catch some bigger weights during the summer. I feel like the key today was swapping through lines and being patient as well. That short line was a patience line early. Obviously the shallow line didn't work, so it was evident there was fish in the middle of the lake, so we changed to the waggler and we've caught well on the waggler, and then we've dropped on that maggot line late and we've had a really good run of F1s late. Normally carp, but they were F1s this time round. It doesn't really matter because they're all weight builders, they're big F1s, they're 3 pound plus fish, so nevertheless, great. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the bank again sometime soon.